Okay, so once you've completed exercise 7 and you know how to align and distribute shapes, then you're ready to start your project. And the project is going to be 8 by 10. So we're going to do File, New, and name it Last Name, First Name Pattern. Design. And then for size, make sure that under width it says 8, under height it says 10. Color mode, CMYK is good. You don't need to switch that. The thing I really want you to double and triple check is that your units say inches. You do not want picas or points or centimeters, because you'd end up with a really tiny document. So be sure that you're on inches here under units. And orientation, let's just do like standard portrait mode, this one, and say OK. So our 8 by 10 is within here, so your pattern is going to be fitting here. Now any background that you might want to use, you're going to basically use shapes to create it. And you could even pathfind interesting shapes into your background if you want to. Or you could simply use rectangles, one or more rectangle. Now first, go ahead and drag your art over, whether you want your shapes separately or you want them to be the whole row that you made. You can also do that. You could ungroup your exercise 7 and then just drag one row, or you could, I suppose, drag the whole thing over there too. Kind of up to you how you want to bring those over. Okay, so to make a background, I recommend making a separate layer for it, and that way you can keep that background separate from all your shapes. So if you decide you need to make changes, it's easy to get to. So new layer button, just like Photoshop. Let's name this layer background. So you can click on right where the words are, it'll let you change it. And then put that on the bottom. So now you've got 2 layers. You've got your layer 1 with your shapes, and you've got your background. So to make a background, you're going to use a rectangle tool, and if you want the exact 8 by 10, you can click and it'll give you the option to type it in. You could work that way if you want, or you could drag it out and just position it too. So now I have a rectangle that has a white fill and a black stroke on it. I can change that to really anything I want. I might, and I was actually, yesterday when I made these, I was using the dark color swatches. So I went to the swatch library in the lower left corner, and I went to color properties and I chose dark. So I could continue to work with those, which they all kind of have, a flow. Of course, I could add contrasting colors too. But, you can choose to work from these palettes, and these are really awesome resources. If you're only ever working from these, you're going to limit your design. But if you start to explore the different ones, you'll get some interesting looks. So, and then I'm just going to go ahead and choose a color for my background, and I could change that at any point. So I'm not limited to any one look, obviously. Oops. I could also make my background more complex. So say I wanted stripes on either end. I could do something like that. And I could drag out those shapes, or I can just type. So say I knew I wanted it 8 inches wide, but maybe I wanted 2 inches for my height. So now I have a shape that size. And I would probably copy it and put one on either end, so they're nice and even. Oops. And then I can adjust and I can change color as needed. I could want a stroke on these, but I'm going to take the stroke off. So I'm going to put the stroke box to the top and say none on that, on all three of these. Oops. Actually, maybe like so just kind of try to, you know, decide what you want to do. You can make gradients actually if you wanted. If you wanted a gradient across this whole thing, you could do that. You could switch it to from radial to linear. And if you want to adjust it, then you can just pull across. So just experiment with the ways that you know, create your design. Try to get your spacing even. Use your alignment tools. Remember, you can adjust your gradient using the gradient tool if you're using any kind of gradient. And that's the basis for how you start.